Our next read aloud about the ancient Greek civilization is called Thermopylae, the Persians strike again. In our last read aloud, we heard about a great battle on the plains of Marathon. Do you remember why this battle began? King Darius wanted to punish the Athenians. He was angry that Athens had helped other Greek city-states fight against Persia. As you listen today, I want you to think about what the title means and why you think the Persians are striking again. I want you to predict whether the outcome will be the same or different than the battle at Marathon. Let's take a look at our ancient Greek civilization chart. We have learned many things about this civilization. We have talked about their jobs, city-states, leaders, religion, and contributions. Today, as you listen, we will learn more about contributions that the ancient Greek civilization had. Let's take a look at some vocabulary words in our read aloud today. The first word is channel. A sailable route between two bodies of water. Defeating. Winning a battle or contest against another person or group. And the last word is prefer. To choose or like something more than something else. Let's begin. King Darius of Persia failed to conquer Greece and died not long after the Greeks won the Battle of Marathon. Darius' son, Xerxes, became the king of Persia. His anger at the Greeks for defeating his father worked inside of him until he could no longer stand it. 10 years after Marathon, King Xerxes sat planning how Persia would attack Greece again. This time, he thought, Persia will have so many soldiers and ships that it will not fail. Xerxes gathered tens of thousands of soldiers, led by his finest troops. Even Xerxes, however, did not have enough ships to carry that many men to Greece by sea. "We will go over land from Asia and down into Greece," he commanded. This meant that the Persians would have to cross a mile-wide channel of water that lay between Asia and northern Greece. Xerxes told his navy captains, "We will cross the channel on an enormous floating bridge. Spread out your ships in rows and tie them together. Then lay wooden platforms across the space between the ships over which my army can pass." Xerxes' vast army succeeded in crossing the decks of 600 ships and moved into Greece. There they faced another difficulty: Greece's high mountains. To avoid having to travel over these mountains, Xerxes led his army south along a narrow strip of dry land near the eastern coast of Greece called Thermopylae. At the other end of this narrow pass, the Greeks were waiting for him. The Greeks knew that Xerxes' army could not spread out to its full width to attack here, for there simply was not enough room in the narrow pass between the mountains and the ocean. Instead, here a smaller army might have a chance to win. With most of the city-states working together, the Greeks had sent 10,000 men to block the Persian march. Led by the Spartan king, Leonidas, the Greeks took up positions across the full width of Thermopylae. Leonidas told his soldiers, "The longer we can hold the Persians here, the more time it gives the other Greeks to prepare for battle." With the fate of their families always in their minds, Leonidas and his soldiers waited. Leonidas knew that farther south, an Athenian leader named Thermopylae was rushing to draw together a fleet of navy ships. Thermopylae was sure that the war would be won at sea, for as he had told the other Greeks, "The Persians may force their way into Greece, but Xerxes cannot keep bringing food and other supplies to his men here by land. It takes too long. So if we control the sea, the Persians will eventually have to go home." Leonidas and his Spartan soldiers had to hold Xerxes at Thermopylae long enough for the Athenian fleet to get into position. Soon the Persians reached the place where the Greeks blocked the pass. Xerxes sent a message to the Greeks warning them to surrender and ask for mercy. He wrote, "I command so many archers that their attack of arrows will black out the sun above you." To this, one of the Spartans jokingly answered, "Fine, we prefer to fight in the shade anyway." After waiting for 4 days for the Greeks to surrender, the furious King Xerxes gave word for his Persian armies to attack. However, just as the Greeks had predicted, only a small number of Persian soldiers could fit into the narrow pass at once, so their great numbers did not help them. Leonidas and the Greeks drove back one attack after another. Then one of the Persian officers said to Xerxes, "O great king, a Greek who lives near here offers to lead us to the Greeks through another pass in the mountains, if you will pay him enough gold." Xerxes smiled grimly. "Good, have him lead half our men along this other path, so that we could come out behind the Greeks." The Persians began to move back so that they could take the other route, but Leonidas of Sparta saw what was happening. Quickly meeting with the other Greek leaders, he commanded, "Take your men safely away from here. I will remain behind with 300 of my best Spartan fighters, and will force the Persians to take the other longer way around." "But this is very dangerous for you and your 300 men," another officer protested. "Once the Persians come through the other pass, they will circle around and attack you from behind. You will be caught between the two Persian forces." Leonidas turned to one of his Spartan officers. "What do you think?" His friend shrugged. "We are Spartans," he said, and that was all. It was enough. Leonidas told the other Greeks, "There is your answer. We will stay." So the rest of the Greek army quickly retreated out of the narrow pass as the 300 Spartans spread out across the area. When they were in position, Leonidas told them, "Let us fight in such a way that forever after all Persians will speak of us in amazement and all Greeks in words of pride." Together the Spartans bravely fought as long as they could, but in the end the Persians defeated the Spartans and continued on. Leonidas and his 300 Spartans are still remembered more than 2,000 years later for their heroism, for fighting against such a large army. These Greeks were able to hold the Persians at the pass long enough for the other Greek forces to prepare for battle. This famous act of courage by the Spartans became known as the Last Stand at Thermopylae. Soon the Persians continued south and reached Athens. To their shock, they found the city nearly deserted, or empty. Meanwhile, Thermopylae, the Athenian navy commander, had moved all of the Greeks to nearby areas, including an island called Salamis. When Xerxes realized this, he sent for his army from Persia. "Sail over here and attack Salamis," he ordered. But this was exactly what the clever Thermopylae had counted on. He had hidden the Greek navy in the bays and harbors that lay between Salamis and Athens on the Greek mainland. As in the mountain pass at Thermopylae, the greater Persian numbers could not help Xerxes in this narrow neck of water. When the Persian ships approached, Thermopylae signaled to his ship's captains, "Attack!" From their hiding places, the smaller, faster Greek ships surprised the Persians. The larger Persian ships, jammed together in the narrow waters, could not turn around to defend themselves. Using metal battering rams attached to the bow of their ships, the Greeks smashed into the helpless Persian ships. One after another, the Persian vessels sank. Those few that did not sink sailed away broken and battered. The Greek victory at Salamis was complete. King Xerxes realized, "We cannot stay here if we cannot count on our ships to bring us food, medicine, and more soldiers from Persia." Finally, the Persians left Greece. There would be only one more land battle the following year, which was won by the Greeks, but nothing compared to the heroic stand by the Greeks at Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. Finally, the Persian threat was over forever, and the stories of these Greek victories would be told again and again for years to come. We will add to our ancient Greek civilization chart. What do you see in this picture? The Greek story is remembered and has been told for many years as an example of heroic behavior. Where do you think we should put this on our chart? We will put this in the contributions section. Here are some discussion questions. Feel free to pause the video in order to allow time to think and discuss. Were your predictions about whether the outcome would be the same or different correct? Why or why not? Why did King Xerxes decide to attack Greece? What obstacles or difficulties did the Persian army face? How did King Xerxes transport tens of thousands of troops into Greece? How did the Greeks defeat the much larger Persian army? When did the Persian threat to Greece finally end? What does Sparta's stand at Thermopylae tell us about the Spartans? How do you think the Greeks felt about defeating Persia?